just want to let everybody know this is not a lecture. This is not a speaking engagement. This is a conversation. And I feel like that I've had a little connection with each and every one of you, whether I had a personal experience, but have I met you before, talked to you, or somebody that I know that you know, somebody that you're working with currently that you know. So I think there are some similarities, some connections all over the place, with this conversation. Second of all, I wanted to tell you, there's a lot of talented guys on here. And I always want to start off with, we want to start off, we're all going to win. And what win illustrates is that you're worthy, you're intelligent, and everybody's necessary. And I wanted to lead off with that to let you guys know that you're.
Oh! Whit. Whit, unmute yourself.
Okay, I'm
sorry.
unmuted now?
Yeah.
Okay. So I just want to let everybody know, first of all, thanks, Kevin. Thanks, everybody. John Thompson, I thought it was Big John, but it was the other John Thompson that reached out to me. And want to pay some homage to the late John Thompson. He was obviously a mentor to a lot of us and kind of a pioneer, that the first Black coach to win a national championship, and kind of paved the way for us. And I'm sorry we lost him. And I lost my high school coach, Morgan Wooten, who was the first high school coach in the Hall of Fame. And I just cherished those two men and wanted to get that out on the table. I just want to let you guys know that this is not a speaking engagement. This is a conversation. This is a conversation of guys that got great potential, who are doing some unbelievable things now, and I think the future is bright for each and every one of you on this call, because now is when we have to get better during the tough times. I also want everybody to know that I always start off conversations with a purpose, and I want everybody to know that we will win going forward. And I always thought that the initials WIN meant you're worthy, you're intelligent, and you're necessary. And you're necessary in your space to take care of your student athletes, to take care of your families, but more importantly, to take care of your brand, to take care of your purpose, and what you need to be to improve, not only as a coach, but to improve as a man. My love of the game started when I moved from Washington, D.C. to Prince George's County, which is the wealthiest Black county in the country. And I got into sports there when I was 9 years old and played in the Boys and Girls Club there. And that's when I started organized sports. And I played organized sports in PG County. And I had a lot of wonderful coaches, Coach Earl Gray, Harry Carter, guys that coached me in basketball, football, and baseball. The late Coach Brown, who was a wonderful coach for me and lived right down, 2 doors down from him, was my baseball coach. I got pretty good, and I started to love, when you talk about love the game, I began to love basketball. Although I was better in football and baseball, I began to love basketball. And I was encouraged by many people in my community to go to DeMatha High School. And my main reason for going to DeMatha, because it had a great reputation with a coach that was not only just a winning coach, but a coach that cared about people. I wanted the opportunity to not get a college scholarship, but I also wanted to have an opportunity to be a first graduate in my family. And I went to DeMatha. It was a huge sacrifice, because I could have stayed at Duval or Roosevelt, which was the local school that I would have been bused to. And if I would have went to either one of those schools, I could have been a star. But I made a sacrifice going to DeMatha because Sidney Lowe and I in our class, the class of 79, which is tabbed as one of the best high school classes in the country, we were sophomores and we could have went anywhere. And I went to DeMatha, and I did not start my sophomore year. I did not start my junior year. And I finally started my senior year. And I'll never forget what the late Morgan Wooten taught me. He said that it's not important that you start, it's that you finish the game. And I was sold on that. A lot of guys today don't understand coming off the bench and being part of something that was bigger than yourself. What he taught me was that it was more important to be a champion and just being a star. And so with that said, in high school, only lost 7 games out of 113 games. We never lost a game in summer league. We won Morgan's first national championship in 1978. We went 28-0. And then later in my senior year, we won the city championship, won Alhambra. I won the dunking contest against Albert King and Gene Banks. And my senior year ended with me deciding to go to NC State, where my cousin David Thompson attended the school. Now, back in the 70s, when I was running around telling everybody that David Thompson, my cousin, they didn't believe me until I actually signed and went to NC State. What was my dream going to NC State? I definitely wanted to win the national championship. I wanted to be a first-generation graduate. And then I wanted to go in the NBA. And that was the order, because at DeMatha we learned, you know, our order of priorities was family, actually God, family, education, and then basketball. That was the order which we were taught at DeMatha. It was God, family, education, then basketball. And I thought that was something that I carried with me all the time. And so with that philosophy carried me to NC State. I wanted an opportunity to win the national championship and really get a degree. I mean, and then if I go to the NBA, that was great. So I learned early on, guys, it was about winning the championship. I couldn't tell you how much I average right now at NC State or DeMatha. All I can count is wins and championships. That's all I was about. Now, mind you, that's a different mindset today, but that's what I experienced growing up. Then after 83, we win the national championship. One of the iconic moments that Lorenzo Charles actually in 1983, with 37 years ago, dunks that ball, my life changed. I thought I was going to go in the NBA. I had the world for 6 months. I felt like a rock star. I was signing autographs, traveling the country. I was a rock star for 6 months. Then reality hit. I go to the Phoenix Suns, and I think that I've got a shot, and I get cut. So I went from being the hero and this great player and All-American, All-ACC, winning the national championship, to nowhere. Then I decided to go over to Europe and play in France for 1 year. In France, I had a great career. In that 1 year span, I played in Le Mans, France. And then Valvano called me back and said, I need you. I want you to come back to NC State. And the rest was history. I came back to start as a graduate assistant to get in coaching, and he convinced me to get into coaching. And that's where I started my coaching career, as a graduate assistant at NC State. And then I left and went to George Mason with Joe Harrington for a year. And then Joe Harrington left and went to Long Beach State. I went with Joe to Long Beach State in 1987. Went out to Joe Live. Valvano called me back again, and I went back to NC State from 1988 to 90. We went into a major scandal at NC State. I left NC State and went back to Joe Harrington from 1990 to 93 with Joe Harrington at University of Colorado. Then left Colorado because I felt like my career was going to be on the East Coast. And so I took a job at West Virginia with Gail Catlett. And I was there at Gail Catlett at West Virginia for 1 year. And then from Gail Catlett, I left Gail Catlett. I went down to Bobby Crimmins for 5 years at Georgia Tech. We had a nice run at Georgia Tech. I recruited the #1 player in the country, Stephon Marbury, maybe one of the best high school players I've ever seen in my life. And 5 years, we had a nice run. And in my last year, I got an opportunity. I was tired. I was an assistant coach for about 15 years, and it's my time. You know, one thing that Bobby Crimmins did for me, guys, that I don't know if your coaches are doing for you now, he prepared me to be a head coach. Not only did I did the scouts, he gave me 30 minutes every day in practice, and I was in charge of the defense. That was unheard of. And all the things you heard about Bobby Crimmins, great recruiter, you know, it's a New York guy. He prepared me to be a head coach. He wanted me to be a head coach. He just didn't settle for me being a recruiter, although recruiting was obviously a lifeline and a major part of what we do as assistant coach. But Bobby Crimmins was really instrumental for me being a head coach. He gave me a lot of opportunities, not that my other coaches didn't, but every one of my coaches, especially Bobby, gave me an opportunity to be a head coach and really believed in me and gave me that opportunity. I think that was important. Joe Harrington came to me several times to talk to him about me being a head coach. He actually offered me the associate head coach job in Colorado. And I tell him, I said, there's only one head coach. There's nothing, I didn't believe in being an associate head coach. I said, you were given an opportunity to coach. I'm going to do my job and recruit. If you want to give me the money, it's great. But the title didn't mean anything to me. It meant more to me that he was giving me the opportunity. How? He was preparing me to be a head coach. And he was allowing me to coach. He was allowing me to scout. He was encouraging me. All the gentlemen was encouraging me to go for interviews and prepare yourself for the head coach. Listen, guys, I want to tell you this, and I'd be remiss to not mention it. So when in 1987, I was a young assistant at Long Beach State, and I believe there was only 7 African-American head coaches at the time. And to my left in Las Vegas, in the summer of Las Vegas in August, there was Harry Edwards, the activist in the 60s for the civil rights movement to my left. And to my right, there was John Thompson. And we started the Black Coaches Association then. There was only 7 head coaches in college. George Raveling was one. Wade Houston was not a head coach at the time, but he was in the meeting. The late Kenny Williams, some Eggman, was in the meeting. Lynn Gordy was in the meeting. Reggie Morris was in the meeting. Rudy Washington was in the meeting. Ray Martin was in the meeting. And Harris, I think, was in the meeting. There was about 12 to 15 guys. And that really gave me a lot of confidence. And I felt like there was support involved. And I finally knew what this was all about. It wasn't just about me being a head coach, but it's been about setting the precedent of becoming a head coach. And so in my career, as I built it up, I said it was time. And I thought that I probably waited too long because I wasn't thinking about being a head coach until like 15 years later. I finally took an opportunity at Wagner College. They had no money. They had a small gym. They never went to the NCAA tournament. They had no infrastructure. They had no culture. So I took that job because it was an opportunity to be a head coach. And when I took that Wagner opportunity, it was interesting because the committee said, why do you want this job? I said, I want this job because there's an opportunity up to me to do something that's bigger than myself. And it so happens that Dr. Smith, that was the president, was from Canada. And the story lies when they were showing all the resumes to Walt Hamline, Dr. Smith knew nothing about basketball. And he looked at all the resumes and he says to Walt, he says, what about this Whittenburg guy? His resume is impeccable. This is the guy I want. And I was hired by Dr. Smith, who was from Canada, that knew nothing about basketball. But he thought that I was the right person to take Wagner, not to their first championship, but I had the right principles and that I was prepared. And that's essentially how I got the first head job. I took a head job and I wasn't choosing. I didn't know nothing about, I recruited Stephon Marbury to spend a lot of time in Brooklyn, but I knew nothing about Staten Island. I knew nothing about Wagner. All I knew is it was an opportunity. And I took on that opportunity, and in 4 years, we had an unbelievable run. Obviously, we won 11 games, 16 games, 19 games, 21, and we won their first NCAA championship. And mind you guys, just want to let you know that people don't talk about this enough, is that I had 6 guys on the dean's list and a 3.0 GPA for all 4 years, and none of my kids got in trouble. And I think as much as we won the championship, we went to an NIT and an NCAA, went to the NIT in 2002 and an NCAA in 2003. But when I used to went to the media, I always told the media about, look at what we accomplished in running a program. And I just didn't want to settle or compromise just winning games. I wanted to show the world that I can run a program. See, coaching is not just about coaching X and O's. Coaching is about leadership. It's about what you believe in, your standards, and how you're gonna set the tone for your program and your philosophy. Listen, all the men that I worked for were successful in their own right. But I took a little bit from each one of these men that was successful. Bobby Crimmins, Joe Harrington, Morgan Wooten, Jim Valvano, Gail Catlett. I took a little bit from each one and injected in my philosophy, but this is how I wanted to run the program. I knew I wanted to be a pressure team. I knew I wanted to be, the team takes on the personnel of the coach. I knew I wanted a tough team that was in great shape, and I didn't want our kids to compromise. I wanted our kids to achieve in the classroom, and I wanted our kids not to get in trouble, and I wanted maximum effort. And I set the tone. So to me, coaching is more than just X and O's. It's about who you are and your philosophy, because that's what the kids are going to take on, the personality and the tone of the leadership that you set. So that leads me to this other subject, learn the business. Learn the business, guys, is essentially learning yourself and in your journey. What do you want to do and how you want to go forward with it? So when you say learn the business, it's about learning where you were, learning where you are, and learning where you want to go. You know, a vision is a dream with a plan, guys. If you don't have a vision to where you want to be, and if you don't have a plan, you can't get there, guys. You can't wallow from year to year thinking it's just going to happen. You got to put yourself in the space. I expected to be a head coach. I expected to be successful. I expected for my kids to work hard. I expected for people to respect me. I respected the fact that when things get tough and they get hard, that I will be the right guy to lead, and that my team, my staff can lead with me, can see that if I'm unshaken about tough times, then they would be unshaken. They can handle the tough times. So I leave Wagner College. I take an impossible job and I go to Fordham University. And I wanted to go to Fordham because I didn't think there's no more I can do